The Velthari ship came out of fold space like a knife cutting through silk. One moment there was empty darkness. The next moment, 47 vessels hung in the void near a small yellow star. Ambassador Kethsora stood at the center of her command deck. Her body was tall and thin, made of something that looked like living crystal. Light moved through her skin in slow waves of blue and green. She had lived for 6,000 years. She had met hundreds of species. She had brought 32 worlds into the protection of the Conclave. Today would be 33. Ambassador, said her sensor officer, we have found the source of the distress signal. Kethsora moved closer to the viewing screen. The signal had been calling out for 3 cycles now. Such signals usually meant wreckage, dead ships floating in the dark, perhaps survivors in emergency pods, waiting for rescue that would never come. What she saw was not wreckage. It was a ship, a small, ugly thing made of simple metal. It had burn marks on its hull. Small holes from space rocks dotted its surface. Its engines were chemical burners, the kind that the Velthari had stopped using 10,000 years ago. That cannot be correct, Kethsora said. Run the scan again. Her officer ran it again. The results were the same. The ship was real. It was holding together by what seemed like hope and nothing else. And there were life forms inside. They are alive, the officer said. His voice carried the harmonic tone of surprise. Ambassador, they are broadcasting a greeting. Kethsora listened to the transmission. It was crude and simple. A mathematical sequence first, to prove intelligence. Then a series of images showing a 2-legged species with soft skin and no natural weapons. Then a voice, run through a basic translation program. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel Wanderer. We come in peace. We seek contact with other intelligent life. Kethsora felt something warm spread through her crystal body. It was a feeling she had not experienced in centuries. Delight. How wonderful, she said. Prepare a response. Tell them we accept their greeting. The communication took time. The humans, as they called themselves, had primitive technology. Their signals moved slowly. Their translation software made many mistakes. But piece by piece, Kethsora learned about them. They came from the 3rd planet of this yellow star. They called it Earth. They had achieved space travel only 200 years ago. They had sent ships to their nearby planets, built stations in orbit, and finally, after great effort, created a vessel that could travel between stars. The Wanderer had been traveling for 12 years. 12 years in the cold dark, with a crew of 40 humans, hoping to find something, anything. They are so young, Kethsora said to her second officer. Like children taking their first steps. They are weak, her officer replied. Look at their bodies. No armor, no claws, no poison. They cannot even survive radiation without special protection. That makes them perfect, Kethsora said. The Conclave will welcome them. A new protectorate species. How long has it been since we found one so fresh? She ordered a shuttle prepared. She would meet these humans herself. The inside of the human ship was cramped and warm. It smelled of recycled air and something organic that Kethsora could not identify. The walls were covered with pipes and wires. Everything looked fragile, temporary, held together by constant repair. Captain Vasquez met her at the airlock. The human was small. She came up to Kethsora's chest. Her skin was brown and lined with age. Her hair was gray and cut short. She wore a simple uniform of dark blue fabric, but her eyes were sharp. They moved constantly, taking in details, measuring, calculating. Ambassador, Vasquez said. She held up her hands, palms facing outward. This is how my people show we carry no weapons. We are honored by your visit. Kethsora made the Velthari gesture of welcome, spreading her crystal fingers so that light passed through them. Captain, your people have traveled far. You must have many questions. We do, Vasquez said. More than I can count. They talked for hours. Kethsora explained the Conclave of 17, the great alliance that governed this region of space. She told Vasquez about the different species, their histories, their cultures. She described the trade routes, the communication networks, the laws that kept peace among the stars. Vasquez listened carefully. She asked questions about territories, about military forces, about how new species joined the Conclave. Most young species become protectorates, Kethsora explained. The galaxy is dangerous. There are things in the dark that would destroy a civilization like yours without thought. Under our protection, you would be safe. You would be guided. In time, perhaps in a few thousand years, you might even achieve full membership. A few thousand years, Vasquez repeated. Her face did not change, but something moved behind her eyes. I know it seems long to you, Keth Sora said gently. Your species lives such brief lives. But trust me, Captain, this is the best path. The only path, really, for a people as young as yours. Vasquez nodded slowly. We are grateful for your wisdom, Ambassador. Truly, we have been alone in the dark for so long. To know that there are others out here, that we are not alone, it means everything to us. Keth Sora felt that warm delight again. These humans were so genuine, so grateful. They would make excellent protectorates. The Conclave would be pleased. I must return to my fleet and send word to the Conclave, Keth Sora said. But do not worry. We will send a proper delegation to your homeworld. Your people will be welcomed into the galactic community. Vasquez smiled. It was an expression that showed teeth, which Keth Sora had learned was friendly among humans. We look forward to it, Ambassador. Earth will be ready to receive you. As Keth Sora walked back to the airlock, she passed several human crew members. They stood at their stations, working on their primitive machines. They nodded at her politely. She did not notice how they watched her. She did not see the subtle hand signals that passed between them as she walked. She did not understand the looks they exchanged when they thought she was not paying attention. She did not wonder why a species with such weak technology would send their people into the void in a ship that could barely survive the journey. She did not ask what could possibly drive a species to take such desperate risks. She did not think to ask what might have followed the Wanderer out into the dark. Back on her own ship, Keth Sora composed her report to the Conclave. She described the humans in glowing terms. Primitive but promising, grateful and cooperative. Perfect candidates for protectorate status. She recommended a full diplomatic fleet be sent to their homeworld. 40 ships at least, to properly impress upon them the power and generosity of the Conclave. As she sent the message, she looked out at the Wanderer floating in the darkness. Such a small, fragile thing. Such a brave, foolish journey. She hoped the humans understood how lucky they were. Most young species were destroyed before they ever reached the stars. The galaxy was not kind to the weak, but the humans had found the Velthari. They had found protection. They would be safe now. Keth Sora turned away from the window and began planning the diplomatic mission. She never saw Captain Vasquez standing at the Wanderer's observation port, watching the Velthari fleet with eyes that held no gratitude at all. She never saw the captain activate a hidden communication device and speak quietly into it. Contact established, Vasquez said. They took the bait. 47 ships in the fleet. Weapons and shield configurations recorded. Transmitting now. She paused, listening to a response that traveled through channels the Velthari could not detect. Understood, Admiral. We'll keep them happy until you're ready. Wanderer out. Vasquez closed the channel and looked out at the alien ships. Her smile was gone now. Welcome to the neighborhood, she whispered. You have no idea what's coming. The great chamber of the Conclave floated in the void between 3 stars. It was older than most civilizations. Its walls were made of materials that no longer existed anywhere else in the galaxy. 17 seats circled a central platform, each one built to hold a different kind of life. Ambassador Keth Sora stood on that platform now, her crystal body catching the light from 100 different sources. Around her sat the rulers of known space. The Rithikari swarm mind occupied the largest seat. It was not one creature but thousands. Small insect-like beings that moved together as a single intelligence. They rustled and clicked as they listened, their collective voice speaking through a translation device. The obsidian throne of Maketh held a being of living stone, ancient and slow, but possessing strength that could crack planets. The representative sat perfectly still, only its eyes moving as it watched the presentation. The Etherian consensus appeared as a cloud of glowing particles, a species that had evolved beyond solid bodies millions of years ago. They drifted gently in their containment field, their thoughts broadcast directly into the chamber's communication network. And there were others. The hollow kings of Dreth, the 1,000 voices of Keth, the silent watchers of the Outer Rim. All of them turned their attention to the small recording playing above the central platform. It showed the human ship, the cramped corridors, Captain Vasquez with her soft skin and her short lifespan and her grateful smile. As you can see, Keth Sora said, the humans are a young species. They have achieved basic star travel, but their technology is primitive. Their bodies are fragile. They have no natural defenses against the dangers of space. The Rithikari swarm mind buzzed with interest. Their biological structure is fascinating, highly adaptable. They could survive on many different types of worlds. They would make excellent workers, the obsidian throne rumbled. Its voice was like rocks grinding together. Strong enough for labor, weak enough to control. We have need of miners in the outer colonies. The Etherean consensus flickered with gentle light. Perhaps we should consider their welfare as well. They are intelligent beings. They deserve guidance, not exploitation. Guidance toward what? The swarm mind clicked. They are barely out of their caves. They have no art worth preserving, no science worth studying. Their only value is biological. Keth Sora raised a crystal hand. I believe the humans have potential. They are curious and eager to learn. With proper guidance, they could become productive members of galactic society. In a few thousand years, perhaps, the Obsidian Throne said. Until then, they are a resource to be managed. The debate continued for hours. Each member of the conclave had opinions about what should be done with humanity. Some wanted to harvest their genetic material. Some wanted to use them as labor. Some wanted to study them like animals in a cage. Only the Etherean consensus argued for gentle treatment. But even they did not suggest that humans should be left alone. That was not how the galaxy worked. Young species did not survive without protection, and protection always came with a price. Finally, a vote was called. The result was 17-0. Humanity would be offered protectorate status. Their solar system would become Velthari administrative territory. Their population would be counted and catalogued. Their resources would be assessed and allocated. Their development would be guided along paths that the conclave approved. It was, everyone agreed, an act of tremendous generosity. I will lead the diplomatic mission myself, Keth Sora announced. The humans trust me. They will accept our offer with gratitude. And if they do not? The Obsidian Throne asked. Keth Sora's crystal body flickered with surprise. Why would they refuse? We are offering them survival. We are offering them a place in the galaxy. What could they possibly have to refuse with? The swarm mind rustled with something that might have been laughter. She has a point. They are weak. They are alone. They have no choice but to accept. The chamber voted again. A fleet of 47 vessels would accompany Keth Sora to the human homeworld. Enough ships to impress the humans with conclave power. Enough weapons to ensure compliance if the humans proved difficult. Not that anyone expected difficulties. The humans were soft and grateful and desperate for contact. They would accept their new place in the order of things. They always did. As the meeting ended, Keth Sora prepared for her journey. She reviewed the information she had gathered about human culture. Their art was crude but emotional. Their music was simple but touching. Their history was full of violence and conflict, but also moments of surprising courage. She found herself looking forward to guiding them. They were like children in many ways. Children who had wandered into a dangerous forest and desperately needed an adult to lead them home. The diplomatic fleet assembled at the Velthari staging grounds. 47 ships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Not that such force would be necessary. This was a peaceful mission. The weapons were merely a precaution. Keth Sora stood on the bridge of her flagship as the fleet prepared to fold space. She looked out at the gathered vessels, their hulls gleaming with power, their crews eager to meet the strange new species. Ambassador, her communications officer said, we are receiving updated transmissions from the human homeworld. Their radio signals. Excellent, Keth Sora said. Let me review them during the journey. I want to understand their culture as deeply as possible. She did not notice, as she reviewed the signals, that something was strange about them. The humans had been broadcasting radio signals for nearly 200 years. Their planet leaked electromagnetic noise like a wound leaked blood. Any species within 100 light-years would have detected them. But in the last 50 years, something had changed. The signals had grown quieter, more focused, less wasteful. Keth Sora did not think to ask why. She assumed it was simply technological progress. As species matured, they learned to be more efficient with their communications. She did not consider that there might be another reason for the silence. She did not wonder what could have taught a young, careless species to suddenly become so very quiet. The fleet folded space and began its journey to Sol. Far away, in the dark between stars, something else was watching. It had been watching for a long time. It had seen the Velthari fleet assemble. It had tracked every ship, logged every weapon, mapped every weakness. Now it sent a message of its own, traveling through channels that the Conclave did not know existed. They are coming. 47 ships. Ambassador Keth Sora commanding. Estimated arrival in 6 standard cycles. The response came quickly. Understood. All units, prepare for Phase 2. Remember your training. We only get one chance at this. In the darkness, lights began to move. Ships that had no heat signature. Ships that made no sound. Ships that the most advanced sensors in the galaxy could not detect. They had been waiting for 70 years for this moment. They were patient. They were careful. They were very, very angry. And they were ready. On Earth, in a command center buried deep beneath a mountain, Admiral Chen Wei stood before a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different view of space around the solar system. Most of them showed nothing but stars and empty darkness, but Admiral Chen knew what was hiding in that darkness. She had helped put it there. Signal from the Wanderer, her aide said. Captain Vasquez reports the Conclave fleet has departed. 6 cycles until arrival. Chen nodded. Status of our assets? All units in position. Stealth systems holding. No indication that the enemy has detected anything. Good. Chen turned to face her staff. They were young, most of them. They had grown up in a world that knew the truth about the galaxy. A world that had learned its lessons in blood. 70 years ago, she said. They came to our world and took our people. They treated us like animals. They thought we were weak because we were soft. They thought we were stupid because we were young. She walked to the central display and brought up an image of Earth from space. Blue and green and beautiful. Fragile and precious. They were wrong. We are not weak. We are not stupid. We are patient. And now, after 70 years of preparation, we are ready to show them exactly what humanity is capable of. She looked at each face in the room. When they arrive, they will expect grateful primitives eager to accept their protection. They will find something very different. Something that has been waiting for them in the dark. She smiled. And it was not a kind smile. They wanted to meet humanity. Let us introduce ourselves properly. The Conclave fleet emerged from fold space at the edge of the Sol system. 47 ships hung in the darkness, their sensors reaching out toward the distant yellow star and its family of planets. Ambassador Keth Sora stood at the center of her command deck, her crystal body humming with anticipation. This was the moment she had been waiting for. First contact with a new species at their homeworld, the chance to welcome them into the galactic community. Begin standard approach, she ordered. Broadcast peaceful greetings on all frequencies. Let them know we come as friends. Her fleet moved forward at a gentle pace. There was no need to hurry. The humans were primitive. They posed no threat. This was a diplomatic mission, not a military operation. The sensor officer made his first report. Ambassador, I am detecting the 3rd planet. It matches the description provided by Captain Vasquez. Large amounts of electromagnetic activity, primitive satellites in orbit. A small station near their moon. Excellent, Keth Sora said. What about military assets? Defense platforms? Warships? The officer checked his readings twice before answering. Nothing, Ambassador. I detect no weapons of any kind. Their orbital infrastructure appears to be entirely civilian. Keth Sora felt a wave of relief. Not that she had expected resistance, but it was good to have confirmation. The humans were exactly what they appeared to be. A young, helpless species, eager for protection. Continue approach. Maintain greeting broadcasts. The fleet traveled inward for 3 cycles. They passed the outer planets, great balls of gas that swirled with ancient storms. They passed the asteroid belt, where the humans had built a few small mining stations. They passed the red planet, where tiny settlements clung to the cold surface. Throughout the journey, Keth Sora waited for a response to her broadcasts. She expected panic, perhaps, or wonder, or the kind of fearful excitement that young species often showed when confronted with advanced technology. She received only silence. On the 4th cycle, Captain Vasquez finally responded. She appeared on the view screen looking tired and stressed. Her hair was uncombed. Her uniform was wrinkled. Ambassador Keth Sora, she said. We apologize for the delay in responding. There have been complications. Complications? Keth Sora leaned forward. Is something wrong? Politics, Vasquez said with a sigh. Earth's governments are debating how to respond to your arrival. Some want to welcome you immediately. Others are concerned about the implications. You must understand, this is the most important moment in our history. Everyone wants to have their say. Keth Sora nodded sympathetically. I understand. Unifying a fractured species is difficult. We will wait. Take whatever time you need. Thank you, Ambassador. Your patience means a great deal to us. The transmission ended. Keth Sora settled back to wait. The fleet continued its approach. Earth grew larger on the view screens with each passing hour. Keth Sora could see the continents now. The blue oceans. The swirling white clouds. She could see the lights of cities on the night side, glittering like scattered jewels. It was a beautiful world, rich in resources, teeming with life. The conclave would benefit greatly from its incorporation. By the 5th cycle, the fleet had reached high orbit over Earth. 47 vessels spread out in a perfect formation, their weapons powered down, their shields set to minimum. They were close enough now to see individual buildings in the human cities, close enough to count the primitive vehicles moving along surface roads, close enough to demonstrate, beyond any doubt, the power of the conclave. Ambassador, the sensor officer said suddenly. His voice carried a strange tone. I am detecting an anomaly. What kind of anomaly? Gravitational fluctuations. Multiple sources. They appeared suddenly, without warning. Keth Sora felt a flicker of concern. Show me. The view screen changed to display the space around the fleet. At first, everything looked normal. Stars and darkness, and the blue curve of Earth below. Then the readings appeared. Small distortions in space-time, scattered around the fleet in a rough sphere. They pulsed with energy that should not exist. They grew stronger with each passing second. Ambassador, the fluctuations are increasing. I have never seen readings like this. It is as if space itself is unfolding. Keth Sora opened her mouth to give an order. She never got the chance. The first ship appeared 3,000 kilometers from the flagship. It did not arrive through fold space. It did not fly in from a distance. One moment there was empty void. The next moment, there was a mountain of metal and weapons. It was 5 kilometers long. Its hull was dark, almost impossible to see against the black of space. Scars and impact craters covered its surface, evidence of battles that had been fought and won. Its weapon arrays were already glowing with power, and it was not alone. They emerged from nothing, rising from the darkness like monsters from a nightmare. 117 ships, appearing in perfect synchronization around the conclave fleet. They had no heat signatures. They made no energy emissions. The most advanced sensors in the galaxy had never detected the slightest whisper of their presence. They had been here the entire time, watching, waiting, listening to every transmission, recording every tactical discussion. What is this? Keth Sora whispered. Her crystal body had gone pale. What is happening? Ambassador. The communications officer's voice was shaking. We are receiving a transmission. It is from the humans. Put it through. Captain Vasquez appeared on screen. But she was different now. Gone was the tired, stressed diplomat. In her place stood a woman in a crisp military uniform, standing on a bridge that hummed with barely contained power. Behind her, crew members moved with the precision of soldiers who had trained for this moment their entire lives. No, Keth Sora realized with a shock. Not Captain. The insignia on her uniform was different. Higher. Ambassador Keth Sora, the woman said. Her voice was cold and hard. Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am Admiral Elena Vasquez of the United Earth Defense Force. Welcome to Sol. Keth Sora struggled to find words. I do not understand. Your ship. You were in distress. You needed rescue. We were never in distress, Ambassador. The Wanderer was bait. I spent 2 years in that tin can, playing the role of a desperate primitive, learning everything I could about your conclave. But why? We came in peace. We came to help you. Vasquez laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Help us? You came to leash us, to make us your protectorate, to catalog our population and assess our resources and guide our development along approved pathways. She leaned forward, and her eyes burned with cold fire. We have heard those words before, Ambassador. 70 years ago, another species came to our world with promises of guidance and protection. Do you know what they did? Kethsora shook her head slowly. They harvested us. They took thousands of our people. They treated us like animals to be collected. They thought we were too primitive to fight back. Vasquez smiled, and it was terrible. They were wrong. And so are you. Kethsora looked at the tactical display. Her 47 ships were surrounded by more than twice their number. The human vessels were massive, heavily armed, and positioned with perfect precision. Every escape route was blocked. Every weapon was targeted. What do you want? She asked. Vasquez straightened. Humanity thanks the Conclave for its generous offer of protectorate status. We have considered it very carefully. She paused. We decline. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. You cannot refuse, Kethsora said. The Conclave does not accept refusal. If you do not become our protectorate willingly, you will be brought into compliance by force. Vasquez nodded slowly. Yes, I expected you would say something like that. She gestured to someone off-screen. The tactical display on Kethsora's bridge suddenly filled with new information. Fleet positions throughout Conclave space, defense network configurations, communication array locations, military deployments, all of it mapped, all of it analyzed, all of it vulnerable. We have been watching you for 70 years, Ambassador. We know your strengths. We know your weaknesses. We know exactly how to hurt you. Kethsora stared at the display in horror. How is this possible? You thought we were primitive because our ships were slow, and our technology was crude. You never considered that we might be hiding, that we might have learned to be silent, that we might have been building something in the darkness that you could not see. Vasquez stood tall, and behind her, the human Dreadnought's weapons powered to full strength. You found us because we allowed it, Ambassador. You came here because we wanted you to. And now you will listen to what we have to say. She stepped closer to the camera. Humanity is not your protectorate. Humanity is not your resource. Humanity is not your pet. Her voice dropped to something quiet and dangerous. Humanity is your equal, and it is time you learned what that means. The bridge of the Velthari flagship was silent. Ambassador Kethsora stood frozen, her crystal body flickering with colors that showed her fear and confusion. Around her, the crew stared at their screens in disbelief. 117 human warships surrounded them. Ships that should not exist. Ships that had appeared from nothing, as if they had been made of darkness itself. Ambassador, Admiral Vasquez said from the view screen. I can see you have questions. Allow me to explain. Kethsora found her voice. Yes, please. Explain how a primitive species that could barely travel between stars now has a fleet that rivals the Conclave itself. Vasquez nodded slowly. You call us primitive, young, naive. You look at our soft bodies and our short lives and you think you know everything about us. She walked across her bridge, and the camera followed her. Behind her, human officers worked at stations filled with technology that looked nothing like the crude machines on the Wanderer. 70 years ago, humanity discovered that we were not alone in the universe. But it was not a discovery we made by choice. Vasquez stopped and turned back to face the screen. Her eyes were hard. The Rithakari found us first. Kethsora felt her blood freeze. The Rithakari swarm mind was one of the most powerful members of the Conclave. They were known for many things. None of them were kind. They came to our world without warning. Vasquez continued. Their harvester ships descended on our cities and took people by the thousands. Men, women, children. They did not care. To them, we were nothing but biological samples. Animals to be collected and studied. Her voice remained steady, but something terrible moved behind her eyes. For 3 years, they harvested us. We could not stop them. We could not fight them. We could not even understand what was happening. They were so far beyond us that we might as well have been insects trying to stop a hurricane. Kethsora wanted to speak, to say something, but the words would not come. Then we got lucky, Vasquez said. One of their scout ships crashed in a remote area. Mechanical failure. The crew died on impact, but the ship was mostly intact. She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. We took that ship apart piece by piece. We studied every system, every component, every fragment of technology we could understand. It took us 10 years to figure out how their full drive worked, another 5 to build our own. But the Rithakari, Kethsora said, they would have noticed. They would have responded. They did notice. Eventually, when their harvester fleet stopped returning, they sent investigators. They found nothing. Because by then, we had learned the most important lesson of all. Vasquez leaned forward. We learned to hide. She gestured, and the view screen changed to show a timeline. Images and dates and technical specifications. Our first stealth systems were crude. Simple heat masking and radar absorption. But we improved them. We had to. We tracked the Rithikari fold space signatures back to one of their staging colonies, a small outpost at the edge of their territory. The image changed to show a planet, green and blue, much like Earth. Beautiful. We burned it to ash. Kethsora made a sound of shock. The Rithikari lost a colony? They lost more than that. They lost every record of Earth's location, every sample they had collected, every scrap of data about our species. When we left, there was nothing remaining to suggest that humanity had ever existed. Vasquez's voice was cold and precise. The Rithikari reported the loss as mechanical failure. Equipment malfunction. Bad luck. They never knew what really happened. They never knew that the animals they had been harvesting had followed them home and killed them in the dark. Kethsora struggled to process what she was hearing. The Conclave had records of that colony loss. It had been attributed to a reactor explosion, an accident. No one had ever suggested that it might have been something else. After that, Vasquez continued, we understood what kind of galaxy we lived in. A galaxy where young species were resources to be exploited, where the powerful took what they wanted and the weak either submitted or were destroyed. She walked back to the center of her bridge. We decided that we would not submit, and we would not be destroyed. The view screen filled with images, shipyards hidden in asteroid fields, research stations buried in the ice of distant moons, training facilities carved into the crust of dead planets, an entire military infrastructure, built over 70 years, in places that no one would ever think to look. We sent ships into the void, not explorers, scouts. They watched your conclave from the shadows. They mapped your territories, studied your technology, recorded your weaknesses. They learned which species were aggressive and which were passive. They learned how your politics worked, how your military was organized, how your communications could be intercepted. Vasquez turned to face the camera directly. The Wanderer was not a desperate attempt to reach the stars, Ambassador. It was an intelligence operation. I was sent to make contact with the Conclave, to learn everything I could about your intentions toward young species like humanity. You deceived us, Kethsora said. Yes, and I would do it again. Vasquez's voice was unapologetic. You came to our world with 47 warships to offer us protection. But I heard your conclave's debates. I know what the Rithikari wanted to do with our genetic material. I know what the Obsidian Throne wanted to do with our labor. Protection was never what you were offering. She stepped closer to the screen. You wanted to put a leash on humanity, to control our development, to use us as you have used every other young species. Unfortunate enough to be found by the Conclave, Kethsora wanted to deny it. She wanted to say that the Conclave was different, that they truly wanted to help humanity grow and thrive. But she remembered the debates. She remembered the discussions about harvesting and labor and genetic templates. She remembered how easily the other members had talked about humanity as a resource to be managed. What do you want? She asked quietly. Vasquez's expression softened slightly. Just slightly. We want what every species wants, Ambassador. The right to determine our own future. The right to make our own choices. The right to live without the threat of being harvested or enslaved or guided along paths that someone else has chosen for us. She gestured at the fleet surrounding the Velthari ships. We could destroy you right now. Every ship in your fleet. You would never even get a shot off. Our weapons are targeted. Our crews are ready. One word from me, and 47 vessels become debris. Kethsora said nothing. There was nothing to say. But that is not why we revealed ourselves, Vasquez continued. We did not spend 70 years preparing just to destroy one diplomatic fleet. We prepared for something bigger. The view screen changed again. This time it showed a map of conclave space, and scattered throughout that map were markers. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Those are our assets, Vasquez said. Ships and stations and listening posts, hidden throughout your territory. Some of them have been in place for decades. All of them are waiting for orders. Kethsora stared at the map. If what the human was saying was true, humanity had infiltrated the entire conclave. They had been watching, listening, preparing for this moment for longer than some species had been members. "We do not want war," Vasquez said. "War is wasteful. War is destructive. War kills innocent people on all sides." She paused. "But we are prepared for war. We are very, very prepared for war. And if the Conclave forces us to fight, we will fight in ways that you cannot imagine. We will strike from the shadows and vanish before you can respond. We will destroy your infrastructure and cripple your economies. We will make you bleed until you beg for peace." Her voice dropped to something quiet and dangerous. "Or you can choose a different path. You can accept that humanity is not a protectorate. You can treat us as equals. You can allow us to join your conclave as full members, with all the rights and privileges that entails." She stepped back. "The choice is yours, Ambassador. You can report what you have seen here today. You can tell your conclave that humanity has teeth, that we are willing to use them, and that we would very much prefer not to." Kethsora looked at the human woman on the screen. Small, soft, fragile. Everything that the conclave believed made a species weak. But those eyes, those terrible, patient eyes that had waited 70 years for this moment. "I will deliver your message," Kethsora said quietly. "But I cannot promise how the conclave will respond." Vasquez nodded. "I know. That is why we are prepared for all possibilities." She smiled one last time. "Good luck, Ambassador. I hope, for everyone's sake, that your people choose wisely." The great chamber of the conclave had never seen such chaos. The 17 seats were filled with representatives shouting over each other. Lights flashed. Alarms sounded. The ancient walls seemed to shake with the force of their anger. Ambassador Kethsora stood on the central platform, trying to make herself heard above the noise. Her report had not been received well. "They killed our colony." The Rithakari swarm mind screamed through 1,000 voices. 70 years ago they murdered our people, and we never knew. This species must be destroyed. They have infiltrated our entire territory. The Obsidian Throne rumbled. They have been watching us for decades. This is an act of war. The Etherian consensus flickered with worried light. We must be careful. If what Ambassador Kethsora says is true, humanity is far more dangerous than we realized. Dangerous! The swarm mind's clicking rose to a furious pitch. They are insects. Soft, fragile insects who have forgotten their place. We will crush them. They surrounded my fleet without being detected, Kethsora said. Their stealth technology is beyond anything we possess. Their weapons are advanced. Their tactics are sophisticated. They are not insects. Then what are they? The Obsidian Throne demanded. Kethsora was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. They are survivors. They encountered the worst the galaxy had to offer, and instead of breaking, they adapted. They learned. They became something that could survive in the darkness. Pretty words, the swarm mind said. But they will not save them. We will send a war fleet. 600 ships from every species that has weapons to offer. We will destroy their world and scatter their ashes across the void. The vote was held. Despite the Etherian consensus voting against, the result was 16-1 in favor of war. The fleet assembled in record time. 600 vessels from 9 different species. Rithakari carrier groups filled with drone fighters. Maketh battleships with weapons that could crack planetary crusts. Support ships from a dozen other races, all eager to teach the humans their place. They traveled to Sol with righteous fury in their hearts. They arrived to find the system empty. No human ships, no defense platforms, no sign of the great fleet that had surrounded Ambassador Kethsora. Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, seemingly undefended. The human cities glittered on its surface, vulnerable and exposed. The Rithakari commander, a senior swarm voice named Kethrix, ordered the fleet to advance. Spread out. Search for the enemy. They cannot hide from us forever. The fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Sensor arrays swept the void in every direction. They found nothing. Only darkness and stars and the silent earth below. Perhaps they fled, one of the Maketh captains suggested. Perhaps our numbers frightened them. Perhaps, Kethrix agreed. Or perhaps they are. He never finished the sentence. The first attack came from directly behind the fleet. 3 Rithakari carriers vanished in balls of white fire, destroyed by weapons that emerged from nothing and disappeared before countermeasures could activate. There was no warning, no sensor contact, just sudden, absolute death. All ships, defensive formation. Kethrix ordered. Find them. Find them now. The fleet scrambled to respond. Ships spun to face the direction of the attack. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. And then the second attack came. From the side this time. 4 more ships destroyed in perfect synchronization. The weapons came from empty space, struck their targets, and vanished before anyone could return fire. Where are they? Kethrix screamed. Where are they coming from? I cannot detect them. His sensor officer replied. There is nothing on any frequency. They appear and disappear like ghosts. The attacks continued. Not a massive assault, but a series of precise strikes that targeted specific ships. Command vessels, communication arrays, engine systems. Each attack crippled the fleet's ability to coordinate and respond. The humans were not fighting a battle. They were performing surgery. After 3 hours, the Conclave fleet had lost 80 ships without ever firing a weapon at a confirmed target. Panic spread through the remaining vessels. Crews abandoned their posts. Commanders screamed contradictory orders. The ancient alliance of the Conclave, built over millennia of cooperation, began to fracture under pressure it had never been designed to withstand. Kethrix made the only decision he could. All ships, retreat. Fall back to Conclave space. The fleet fled. They ran from Sol like animals running from a fire, their formation broken, their pride shattered. They left behind the wreckage of their comrades and the terrible knowledge that they had been utterly outmatched. As they reached the edge of the system, a transmission reached them. Admiral Vasquez appeared on every screen in the fleet. This was a lesson, she said calmly. A small demonstration of what humanity is capable of. We did not want this fight. We offered peace. You chose war. She leaned forward. Go back to your conclave. Tell them what you saw here today. Tell them that Sol is defended by weapons they cannot detect, crews they cannot defeat, and determination they cannot break. Her voice hardened. And tell them that if they come here again with warships, there will be no warning shots, no survivors, no one left to carry a message home. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was quieter, almost gentle. But there is another option. Humanity does not want to be your enemy. We have spent 70 years preparing for war because we believed we had no choice. But we would rather spend the next 70 years building something better. She straightened. We want a seat on the conclave. Full membership, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. We want the protectorate system abolished. No more young species forced into servitude. No more harvesting of sentient beings. No more treating intelligent life as resources to be managed. Her eyes swept the camera, as if she could see every member of the fleeing fleet. We know this is a lot to ask. We know your conclave has operated this way for millennia. But the galaxy is changing. Species like humanity are not going to accept being prey anymore. You can either adapt to that reality, or you can be swept away by it. She took a breath. We do not want to destroy you. We want to join you, to make your alliance stronger, more fair, more just. We have seen what the galaxy looks like when the powerful do whatever they want to the weak. We want to build something different. The transmission ended. The Conclave fleet limped home with 200 fewer ships than it had started with. The survivors carried Admiral Vasquez's message to their governments. The debates that followed lasted for months. In the end, the vote was close. But it passed. Humanity was granted full membership in the Conclave of 18. The protectorate system was reformed. The Rithakari harvesting fleets were recalled. Young species would no longer be automatically subjugated. They would be given choices. Ambassador Keth Sora was assigned as the Conclave's liaison to humanity. She traveled to Earth for the signing of the membership treaty. She walked through human cities and saw the statues they had built to commemorate those lost in the harvesting. She visited the memorials. She spoke with survivors. She understood, finally, why they had fought so hard. On her last day on Earth, Admiral Vasquez met her on a balcony overlooking a human city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of orange and gold. You must hate us, Vasquez said. For what we did to your fleet. For the deception. Keth Sora considered the question. I do not hate you. I fear you. I think. And I respect you. You did what you had to do to survive. She turned to face the human woman. But I also wonder. Your stealth technology, your hidden fleets, your infiltration of our space. You could have used those advantages to conquer us. To take revenge for what the Rithakari did. Why did you choose diplomacy instead? Vasquez was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was tired. Because war is easy. Building something better is hard. We spent 70 years learning to be weapons. Now we have to learn to be something else. She looked out at the city below. My grandmother was taken by the Rythakari. I grew up with that anger, that need for revenge. But revenge is just destruction wearing a mask of justice. It does not bring back the dead. It does not heal wounds. It only creates more pain. She turned to face Kethsora. Humanity could have burned your conclave to ashes. But then what? We would rule over species we had conquered. Just as you ruled over your protectorates. We would become the very thing we fought against. She shook her head. That is not who I want us to be. We proved we can destroy. Now we have to prove we can build. Kethsora was silent for a long moment. Then she reached out and took the human's hand. Soft flesh against hard crystal. Two species, so different, trying to find common ground. Then let us build together, she said. Vasquez smiled. For the first time, it reached her eyes. Yes, let us try. 3 centuries later, the Conclave of 19 was the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Its member species worked together in ways that would have seemed impossible to their ancestors. The protectorate system was a distant memory, spoken of with shame. Ambassador Kethsora, long retired, kept a single reminder of her time among humans, a small paper card that Captain Vasquez had given her during their first meeting on the Wanderer, before the truth was revealed. On it, in human writing, was a phrase that Kethsora had eventually learned to understand. Walk softly and carry a big stick. She kept it on her desk, where she could see it every day. A reminder of the species that had taught the galaxy a new way forward. A reminder that the softest creatures could carry the biggest sticks of all, and that sometimes, mercy was the most powerful weapon in the universe.